This hour, we are getting our very first look at video as the U.S. launches a series of strikes in Iraq and Syria in response to the deaths of 3 American soldiers in Jordan. An Iranian-backed militant group is blamed for their deaths, also injuring 40 others. And tonight, we know that the U.S. has hit more than 85 targets across both Syria and Iraq. Word of these attacks coming just after the bodies of those 3 American service members returned home today. President Biden and the First Lady receiving the fallen soldiers' remains as they returned to American soil.
They risked it all, and we'll never forget the sacrifices and service to our country.
Joining us live is retired 4-star Army General Barry McCaffrey, also an NBC News military analyst. General, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
How are you, Josh?
The U.S. promised it was going to retaliate. Today hit 85 targets, 7 different sites, 4 in Syria, 3 in Iraq. What did they hit, and was it, in your mind, the right response?
I think they very carefully thought through this. What they didn't do was go after targets inside Iran. They did not go after Hezbollah in Lebanon. They didn't go after the Houthis in Yemen, who are menacing international shipping traffic. They were in both Syria and Iraq, 7 facilities attacked, and they, by and large, could draw a conclusion that those targets were related to the somewhat catastrophic casualties we had, 3 killed, 40-some-odd wounded. I think the other thing that we can see is they went after the Revolutionary Guard's Quds special forces in Iraq and Syria. So that was a signal to Iran, which coordinates, orchestrates this regional violence, that they're next.
Explain to us, though, that they didn't strike Tehran, Iran. The attacks were in Iraq and in Syria, but the militants are Iranian-backed. Explain why it's important that they didn't actually hit Iran.
I think everyone, but the Iranians have a lot to lose. They are in a regional war with the United States. We turn the U.S. Navy and Air Force loose on the Iranian economy, on their nuclear weapons development program and their armed forces. It would be catastrophic. So I think largely they don't want to cross a red line and end up in high-intensity combat with the U.S. Having said that, it's also true that internally in Iran, they're facing massive internal opposition. You know, half the population of Iran are women. They're, I think, in despair of being brutalized by this aging theocracy. A pretty complicated issue for the Biden team to think through. We've got thoughtful, informed, experienced people, Secretary Austin, Secretary Blinken, and others. I think they did the right thing.
These attacks come the same day that those 3 American soldiers' remains were returned home. How significant is that? What message does that send globally?
Well, it's certainly a painful reminder. All volunteer force, 2.1 million men and women in the active Guard and Reserve. These 3 soldiers that were killed in action were all reservists from Georgia. Great, one sort of career soldier and 2 young women new to the Army. We've had 60,000 U.S. servicemen killed or wounded during this war on terror. The current mission in Jordan, Iraq and Syria, on the face of it, is counter-ISIS, counter-terrorism operations. So it was a poignant moment to see the cost of stepping forward to defend our country.
Do you expect that this is going to go on for a matter of days or weeks? Because we know this is just the beginning of a multi-tiered response, according to the Defense Secretary.
Yeah, I think that was an important statement, that it wasn't, in Secretary Austin's words, going to be a one-off response. Every terrorist in the Middle East went to ground once they heard of the U.S. resolve to retaliate. So they're all in holes. They pull rugs over their heads. They're trying to, they turned off all their radios or radar sets, but they're going to have to move. And so I think it's, as Secretary Austin's view, it's going to be a distributed, multi-tiered attack over time. I think the bottom line is we're trying to reduce capabilities, just not intentions. We got to protect these troops, 2,500 some odd in Iraq, 900 some odd in Syria, maybe 3,000 in Jordan. If we can't defend them, We need to think through, why are we there? What is our intent?
And how does all of this impact negotiations for the release of the hostages held by Hamas and a possible ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war without widening this war?
Well, boy, that's the real question, isn't it? Israel, a small country, desperate to get back these poor men and women, tortured, mutilated, raped, held for several months now in despicable conditions. I don't think they're going to get them back until the Hamas leadership sees themselves fundamentally at danger of being killed or captured. So you got this tension. You want a diplomatic effort to get them out, but the IDF has to continue fighting in South Gaza to force the Hamas leadership in desperation to give up the hostages. The day after the shooting stops is going to be a painful day. Who's in charge in Gaza? The Israelis will never live with Hamas being the answer.
And that is for another conversation, because I know the president's calling for a Palestinian-led state. We will save that for another day. We so appreciate your time. General Barry McCaffrey, thank you so much.
Good to be with you.